I was hosting Thanksgiving for the first time when my sister-in-law showed up with her own turkey. She said, "We didn't trust yours. Ours is actually edible." My husband laughed. Everyone ate hers, not mine. I quietly packed my food, drove to the homeless shelter, and left her a note that said, "At least someone appreciated it." I'm 38, been married to Mark for 5 years. We live in Springfield, Missouri, in a quiet little neighborhood on the east side of town. Not a mansion or anything, but a cozy place with a nice-sized kitchen and a fenced backyard. After years of renting, I finally had a space I could call mine. That meant something to me. This was supposed to be my Thanksgiving. Growing up, I watched my mom pour her heart into cooking. She didn't have much, but every Thanksgiving she made it special. I wanted to honor that. I wanted to host everyone, have them walk in and feel warmth, smell the spices, and know someone gave a damn. Mark's family had always done Thanksgiving at his mom's or his sister's. But this year, I offered. I'd cook the whole thing. Mark said, "Sure, sounds good." His family said okay too, but I could tell from the way they said it that they didn't really expect much. Like they were humoring me. Still, I went all out. I planned every dish. I printed recipes. I did a trial run of the turkey a week before, just to make sure. I even cleaned the baseboards. I wanted no excuses. I wanted everything to be perfect. And then came the day. Thanksgiving morning, I was up at 6. I'd prepped most of the sides the night before. The turkey went in at 8 a.m. The kitchen smelled incredible. I set the table with the good plates and actual cloth napkins. I lit candles. Put on music. Everything was in place. By 2:30 p.m., the food was ready. I was wiping my hands on a towel when the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there was Danielle. Danielle is Mark's older sister. She's the kind of woman who always has something slick to say. Always has her nails done. Always wears something loud. That day it was a shiny red trench coat, high heels, and a big grin. Behind her was her husband Tom. And behind him, a big silver roasting pan. With a whole damn turkey in it. I stared. "What's that?" Danielle laughed. "Our turkey." I blinked. "Why? Did you bring a turkey?" She looked right at me and said, loud enough for everyone behind her to hear, "We didn't trust yours. Ours is actually edible." My stomach turned. Mark came up behind me and laughed. Not awkwardly, not nervously. He just thought it was funny. "Well, you know Danielle," he said, brushing past me to grab the tray. Everyone else filed in like it was nothing. I stood there frozen, the door still open. I looked over at my turkey, perfectly golden, resting on the counter. My table, full of the sides I had poured myself into. And suddenly it all felt like a joke. Like I was just the warm-up act before the real show. When dinner started, Mark carved Danielle's turkey. Not mine. Plates went around, filled with her food. "Oh, this is so juicy," someone said. "You always make the best turkey, Danielle," said Mark's mom. Mine sat untouched. Not one person scooped my mashed potatoes. No one even asked what kind of stuffing I made. They were too busy stuffing their faces with her food. Food she didn't even tell me she was bringing. I felt heat crawl up my neck. But I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood in the kitchen like a ghost while they laughed and chewed and complimented the woman who had walked into my house and mocked me to my face. After dinner, while they settled into the living room with wine and football, I started packing my food into containers. Everything I made, every untouched dish, every side and dessert. I didn't say a word. I put it all in 2 large tote bags, slipped on my coat, and walked out. No one noticed. I drove across town to the shelter I used to volunteer at years ago. It's tucked between a church and a closed-down laundromat. The woman at the desk recognized me. Her name's Lorraine. I told her I had a full Thanksgiving meal that hadn't been touched. Asked if they could use it. She looked in the bags and her face lit up. "Are you kidding? This is amazing." We brought the food in together. People there started gathering. They were smiling. One man said, "You brought all this for us?" I nodded. Yes, it's real good food too. I promise. They didn't care who made it. They didn't pick it apart. They were just thankful. Before I left, Lorraine hugged me. You made a lot of people happy tonight. I almost cried right there, but I held it together. I drove home in silence. When I got back, the living room was a mess. Empty wine glasses, crumbs, laughter from the TV. Danielle was still holding court like she was the damn queen of Thanksgiving. I walked into the kitchen, found the now empty tray she'd brought her turkey in, and quietly slid a note into it. Folded in half. It read, "At least someone appreciated mine." Then I went upstairs. Mark came up later. He asked where I'd gone. I told him. He laughed again. That's kinda dramatic, don't you think? I didn't answer. I just looked at him and knew right then I was alone in this marriage. But I didn't start a fight. I started thinking. The next morning, Mark acted like nothing happened. He was in the kitchen making coffee, humming like it was any other Friday. I came downstairs, and he looked up like he expected me to smile and say good morning. I didn't. He raised an eyebrow. You still mad about yesterday? I stood by the fridge. You thought it was funny. He shrugged. It was kind of funny. You took it too personal. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. He went back to pouring his coffee, and I saw something in that moment, something I'd missed for years. Mark didn't see me. Not really. Not who I was, not what I gave. To him, I was just there. I spent the weekend mostly in silence. He didn't seem to notice. Monday morning, I got up early, called in sick to work, and started going through old boxes. One of them had a journal I kept during our first year together. In it, I wrote about the way Mark made me laugh, how he'd leave notes on the bathroom mirror, how he said he wanted a partner, not just a wife. But that version of him didn't exist anymore. That night, after he went to bed, I checked his phone. Now, I don't normally do that. I'm not proud of it. But something had been nagging me since Thanksgiving, like an itch under my skin. And sure enough, there it was. A group text between him, Danielle, and their mom. Danielle. Hope you all enjoyed the real turkey face with ears of joy, Mark. She's still pissed LMAO their mom. She needs to lighten up. You know how sensitive she gets. Mark. At least no one had to pretend to like her cooking face with ears of joy, face with ears of joy, face with ears of joy. My hands shook. I took screenshots. Every message. Every smug little laugh at my expense. I saved them all to my email, just in case. The next day, I went back to the shelter. I brought cookies this time, homemade. Lorraine gave me a big smile and asked how I was doing. I told her I was figuring some things out. She nodded and said, you know, I could use some help organizing next month's food drive. We're short on hands. I said yes without even thinking. For the first time in a long time, it felt good to say yes to something that wasn't about them. Back home, I started changing little things. I stopped doing Mark's laundry. I stopped packing his lunches for work. I stopped pretending everything was fine. He noticed. He asked what was going on. I told him, I'm just busy. Got other things to do. He didn't like that. By the second week of December, he snapped. You've been cold as hell lately. What is your problem? I showed him the screenshots. His face went pale. You went through my phone, he said. I folded my arms. And you trashed me behind my back. With your sister. With your mother. In my own house. He looked away. It was just a joke. No, I said. It was a message. And I heard it loud and clear. He slept on the couch that night. I didn't ask him to. He just didn't have the balls to face me. A few days later, Danielle texted me. Danielle, hey, heard you're mad, LOL. It was just some family teasing. Don't be so sensitive. I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a photo of the food I'd brought to the shelter on Facebook. I included a short note, cooked a full Thanksgiving dinner. No one touched it. Took it to the shelter instead. Best decision I ever made. Sometimes strangers show more kindness than family. The photo got shared. A lot. People commented. Friends. Coworkers. Even Mark's cousins, people who knew Danielle, left comments like, "Wow, that's just cruel, and you deserved better." Danielle unfriended me that night. Good. But I wasn't done yet. Christmas came fast that year. Normally, Mark's family did a big dinner at his mom's place, full of casseroles and that same dry hen they pretend to like. But this time, after the Facebook post and fallout, I wasn't invited. No one said it out loud, but it was clear. Mark mentioned the party in passing, never asked if I wanted to come. He just assumed I wouldn't. That was the first time I realized I wasn't part of their family. I was just attached to it. So while Mark got dressed in his sweater and grabbed a bottle of wine to bring, I handed him a gift bag. He looked confused. "What's this?" "Something for Danielle," I said. Inside was a printed copy of her text messages. Every one she'd sent about me. I'd added a note on top that said, "Your words are gifts too. Just wanted to return them properly." He stared at it, then looked at me like I was crazy. "You're really doing this? You're really still going over there?" He left without saying another word. I didn't care. I stayed home, made myself a small dinner, and watched old movies. Halfway through Home Alone, my phone blew up. First it was Mark. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Then his cousin Jenna. Finally, someone put Danielle in her place. Then, radio silence. Mark didn't come home until late. When he did, he reeked of wine. He walked into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and said, "You embarrassed me." "No," I said. "I exposed you." He didn't have anything to say to that. A few days later, he packed a bag. "I think we need some space." I nodded. "There's a hotel on Glenstone. You can try there." He left. And, for the first time in months, I slept through the night. But the twist came in January. Danielle's husband, Tom, messaged me on Facebook. It was short. "I owe you an apology. You were right about her." I replied, "What happened?" His response, "Found her texts to Mark." Found out this wasn't the first time they ganged up on someone behind their back. "She's been talking about me too. About our daughter. Behind our backs." Turns out, Danielle didn't just mock me. She'd been mocking everyone. Playing queen bee while slowly poisoning the well around her. Tom left her that week. Filed for separation. Danielle went quiet online. Deleted her Facebook. Stopped coming to family events. Suddenly, everyone was calling me. Mark's aunt. His cousin Jenna. Even his mom. All saying things like, "Danielle could be a lot sometimes," or "We didn't realize how mean she could be," or "We should have had your back." It was funny how fast they changed their tune when they were the ones embarrassed. But I didn't let them off the hook. I didn't yell. I didn't play the victim. I just told them the truth. "You saw how she treated me. And you laughed with her. You're only sorry now because it blew up in your face." That shut them up real quick. As for Mark, he kept texting, calling, trying to talk things through. But I'd already made my choice. And I had one last thing to do before I walked away for good. Mark wanted to fix things. After all that, after laughing at me, mocking me behind my back, letting his sister tear me down in my own house, he thought we could patch it up. He came back in February, standing on the porch with a grocery bag in one hand and a sheepish look on his face. "I brought your favorite. Chicken tikka from Taste of India." I opened the door but didn't let him in. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and stood on the porch with him. He said, "Look, I know I messed up, but Danielle's a nightmare. She ruins everything. You and we were solid before she got in the way." I looked him dead in the eye. "No, Mark. You ruined it. You laughed with her. You let her humiliate me. And you didn't stand up for me once." He tried to explain, started rambling about bad timing and how family can be complicated. I stopped him. "You don't get it. You never had my back. Not once. You let them treat me like a joke. He didn't like that. His face changed. You're not perfect either. You always made everything about being right. About having control. That stung. Because it was partly true. I had tried to control things. The holiday, the menu, the atmosphere. I'd obsessed over every detail. But not out of ego. Out of hope. I just wanted to be included. I wanted it to matter. But Mark never saw that. He never asked why I worked so hard. He just laughed when it got torn down. I looked at him and realized. We'd both failed each other. But only one of us tried to fix it before it was too late. And I was done trying. Go home, Mark, I said. Wherever that is now. He stood there, waiting. Like he thought I might change my mind. I didn't. Finally, he left the food on the porch step and walked to his car. Drove off without looking back. The next day, I called a lawyer. The divorce took 5 months. During that time, I stayed busy. I volunteered at the shelter, picked up extra shifts at work, and started going to therapy. For once, my life wasn't about fixing other people's messes. Mark tried reaching out a few more times. Sent flowers. Left voicemails. Apologized again. It was all too late. Danielle, meanwhile, stayed quiet. Her divorce from Tom got messy. He got custody of their daughter. Word got around that Danielle had stirred up drama in her office too. Got written up for creating a hostile environment. She switched jobs in July. Moved out of town by August. Funny how quickly people scatter when their mask falls off. By fall, my divorce was final. I threw out everything tied to that part of my life. Wedding photos, his old hoodie, the pot roast pan his mom gave us. Gone. And then, in November, something unexpected happened. Lorraine at the shelter called me. Hey, you still thinking about hosting Thanksgiving this year? I hesitated. Then said, yeah, I think I am. So I did. I cooked everything from scratch again. Turkey, stuffing, potatoes, the pies. This time, I served it at the shelter with a full team of volunteers. We fed over 80 people that night. One of the men came up to me afterward and said, that was the best food I ever had. You got a gift. I smiled. Not because he liked the food, but because someone saw me. Really saw me. Not as a joke. Not as a background character. But as someone who gave her best and kept going even after being betrayed. I drove home that night alone, and I wasn't sad. I was free.